Here we go. I'm at the all. Now I'm going to change over to QB so we can talk about running back in a little bit. But week 7, FanDuel, first look. Can't believe it's week 7 already. Now Patrick Mahomes sitting here at 8,800 against Tennessee's crappy defense. We'll see them get absolutely torched by Buffalo later this evening. Calling my shot. What do you do with Patrick Mahomes here?
Probably not play him, and that might be a surprise to people. But like 8,800, I guess I would like to see Tennessee defense before I say anything definitive. But like, I don't know if I play him at this price tag when I feel like there's better price tags on the slate. You're going to talk about Lamar in a minute. You're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, who I think is a good spot. Stafford going back to Detroit as well, or not going back to Detroit, but playing against Detroit for the first time. Some interesting
Whew.
spots here. I think Mahomes GPP wise is perfectly fine, but if I'm looking to lock in my cash game quarterback, it's probably not going to be Mahomes this week.
Dude, QB is stacked this week. I haven't even looked past
Yeah.
Sam Darnold yet. There's like 6 guys in play right now, right at the top. Mahomes,
Hmm.
I think he's in play too. It's just the price tag is interesting. Also, he doesn't, offer as much rushing upside as the guys who we're going to talk about next here. But both Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are home run spots in Week 7, both at home. Kyler Murray gets the Houston defense, and Lamar Jackson gets the Cincinnati defense. And what I think should be a pretty competitive game in terms of like I know Baltimore completely destroyed the Chargers. Again, I was a little bit worried about that West Coast to East Coast turn for the Chargers on Sunday morning. So again, I don't know what it is, but they totally balled out yesterday. So Cincinnati actually takes on Baltimore for I think it's the AFC North best record. Is that right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I think so.
Baltimore maybe might have a game up on them. Anyway, both Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are in amazing spots. And so I think you can even classify Jalen Hurts in a not smash spot. That's not as good as the other two, but he certainly is in the top 5 QB position. I mean, do you think this? It would be different if the Detroit game was in Detroit, right? Like, I still think Stafford's great, but is this going to be as good of a spot for him as we think it could be on paper?
Yes, it will. Yeah, it
Okay.
will be. It definitely will be. I think it's a better spot for Darrell Henderson, and this is most likely a GPP play for Stafford. But
Yep.
Stafford's gonna ball out here. Don't get it twisted. This is a team that he was on for quite a while. Even if it's not necessarily like a bad vibes type of narrative, it might just be a good vibes type of narrative. You know, he's seeing a lot of well, I guess no one's really there coaching wise that he used to be with, because they did change the coaching system. But like, might see some old buddies on defense, might see some old friends on the team. Like, I don't know. I still think there is a narrative to be had just because he was there for such a long time. I feel like again, good GPP play. I like Henderson a lot better as the running back in that spot against that Detroit terrible defense. I mean, we saw Mixon absolutely carve them up this past week. So like,
Yep.
I think Henderson will do the exact same. Henderson's probably your Jonathan Taylor esque lock of the week at running back.
Yeah, play running backs against Detroit. The Stafford passing connection could be an awesome tournament spot to get a little bit different and get some leverage off of that. Let's see. Rodgers against Washington in Green Bay seems like a really good spot on paper. Sam Darnold against the Giants seems like a great spot on paper as well. I mean, Ryan Tannehill against Kansas City. Are we going to try to get this thing right after Taylor Heineke failed to give us any points here?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested to see what Tannehill can do against that really good Buffalo defense tonight. But if he can look even competent, I'm willing to go to the Tannehill play and willing to roster him. I'm really surprised you just went over your guy here, Jared. I think Aaron Rodgers might potentially be one of the better cash game plays at the quarterback position. I think against this Washington team where they have a solid front seven, and you would expect Rodgers not, or you expect the Packers not have to run the ball much, this could be a spot to where he's able to just absolutely dominate with the long ball. I like
Sure.
Devontae Adams in this spot. I like Lazard. He looked pretty good yesterday as well. I think Rodgers could be an absolutely amazing spot and just way, way, way too cheap at 7,900. This guy easily should be at, I know he hasn't shown the score this year quite yet, but like 8.5K is coming soon for Rodgers.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting play, especially if you were to pick going him and Cash over guys like Lamar and like Kyler. I definitely can get behind it. I think it's more of a tournament play at first look, but I definitely see where you're coming from here. This does feel like a 300 plus 3 to 4 touchdown game for him. If the biggest thing here is just making sure the touchdowns go the correct way, as they normally like to change things up inside the 10, inside the 20. So Rodgers can have that 26 plus point ceiling. We've seen it twice against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions. I like it. I don't see any problem with it at all. Maybe it's more of a tournament thing towards the end of the week, but right now I definitely don't mind the price. All right. Anybody under 7,500? I just don't think we have to really even touch this spot. I really don't. I think that there are plenty of guys that you can go up to and feel just as comfortable with. You're not playing Jared Goff against the Rams. I actually think that the Rams defense could be one of the better plays in tournaments this weekend.
Oh, come on. He's going to come fired up. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to be absolutely ready to go after the Rams discarded him. And now he's on the hot seat. Did you see that Campbell said that
Yep, I
Goff
know.
is the one who needs to step it up?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Just mind blowing the fact that he said that. But if that is the case, then who knows? Goff on the hot seat against his former team in LA. Maybe it happens. Probably not. I agree with you. I think that after Heineke this week, I am just done with touching any quarterback under 7,500. Just finding value at quarterback. It sometimes works. Most of the time, it doesn't, though.
Correct. All right, let's move on to running back here. And we have Derrick Henry sitting up top at 11,000. Finally, somebody priced up Derrick Henry. Facing the Chiefs, who have an atrocious defense. My goodness. What do we do here? Christian McCaffrey is definitely going to be out, so that's, it is what it is there. The next appropriately priced player is Aaron Jones at 8,500. You have Cordero Patterson at 8K. What are we doing with our lives here?
This is what I was talking about, man. This was the spot where I was like, holy shit, it's Cordero Patterson at 8K. Like that is your running back 4 this week. Technically your running back 3 this week is Cordero Patterson.
My goodness. Anyway, I will not comment on that right now. We'll have to see how that goes across the end of the week here. Derrick Henry, 11,000. If he's going to continue to get this, we'll see it tonight. I think that they're going to give him like 25 plus touches against the Bills. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe, just maybe, he will underperform a little bit to get people to get off this spot as much. I think people will play him regardless of what happens tonight. But it could be a spot where he might be a little bit lower owned than he should be.
Yeah, definitely could be a spot where he's a little bit lower owned. And I mean, against the Chiefs, I think he can pay off that price tag of 11K.
For sure. Okay, so Aaron Jones against Washington, not the worst play in the world. Washington's defense has been pretty bad, so I just think that if you're playing Henry, you're probably not playing Jones. I would much rather save the $500 and get to Darrell Henderson. And I guess here's the question, Josh: Darrell Henderson versus Cordell Patterson at 8K. Is that a question?
Is that a question? Is it really a question? For me, it's Henderson 1,000 times.
Well, yeah.
I'd much rather have Henderson.
You know that I could care less about Patterson, so
That's the boat that I'm in, man. I just do not want to play. I refuse to play Cordero Patterson.
So do I. So that's exactly what I'll be doing this week. And yeah, I mean, Darrell Henderson, 9 times out of 10, probably 11 times out of 10 for me over Cordero Patterson this week against Miami. Even though I will say Miami's defense is bad. They are really bad, and they just gave up a huge game to James Robinson. So, all right, Chuba Hubbard against the New York Giants, 7,300. He's getting up there in price. He got a touchdown last week, but he really didn't get the job done outside of that. Joe Mixon, Cincinnati, 7,200. He's going to get the workload again. We'll have to see what happens with Samaje Perine this week. Anything below that we're looking at here for the running back position?
Yeah, I definitely think that Damian Harris is probably going to be one of the chalkier players on the slate. I don't disagree with it. We saw him go 18 for 101. He just, there's mistakes that he does make, and Belichick doesn't care. I think Belichick does think that he's the RB here. And at 6,800, I'm willing to get behind the play as well. I see him faced off against the Jets once, had a touchdown in that spot. It wasn't exactly the most productive game for him, but Damian Harris, I think, is in play at 6,800.
Yeah, I think he is too. And now especially with the fact that Darrell Williams, after having a huge game, is at 6,700 now. He bumped up $1,500. Do people take Darrell Williams over Damian Harris here, or is it the opposite way?
I think people might side with Darrell Williams considering he's facing off against Tennessee.
That was my thought too. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to pan out. But it certainly is, like they're both in good matchups. Don't look at the Tennessee defensive ranking at 5. That's not true. I don't really even know what statistic they'd even be using to give anybody on defense for Tennessee a top 5 ranking. So don't look at that one. Antonio Gibson, calf injury against Green Bay. We'll have to see. I guess he has a calf now. I mean, I thought he was just at a shin, so we'll see how it goes there. All right, James Conner, 6,500 against Houston. What do we possibly do here? Because I think this is going to be a very, very popular scenario to talk about this week between him and Edmonds against Houston.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do because we've seen the touches vary between the both of them. Edmonds this past week had only 4 rushing attempts with 4 targets for 3 receptions, and we saw Connor end up having 16 rushing attempts. I think 16. It might have been a little bit more. But I just think that you're gonna have to consider one of these two guys just because of the matchup they're in. I'm just not sure which one.
Yep, I mean Chase Edmonds has been banged up consecutive weeks here, and he really hasn't been on the field too much. Less than 10 touches in back-to-back weeks for Chase Edmonds. At some point, I think that James Conner, has he already become the team's RB1? I don't know if that's like 100% the case, but like it certainly seems like it right now as Chase Edmonds is going through these types of injuries, and maybe they decide they're 6-0 and they're facing Houston. I think that they might take a more conservative approach and just, maybe give Chase Edmonds less touches.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. I could totally see them running the ball more, maybe trying to make it a rest up week for Kyler Murray, considering that, he was dealing with that injury last week. It didn't seem to really hamper him yesterday, but just to make sure he's fully healthy coming into the final or into the second half of the season, I wouldn't be surprised to see them take the foot off the gas a little bit. So if that's the case, then I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a game where Connor could get 20 rushes.
For sure. Since this is a 10-game slate, certainly less running back options than the previous couple of weeks. I do expect it to be another injury-ridden week. I mean, this one definitely doesn't look as bad as last week did, but you do have Saquon Barkley coming in. Somehow is questionable for this week. I don't think he's playing with that ankle, even though it's been a week and a half plus. That ankle was bad, so I don't know. Do you think that he's going to play this week, and what do you think about Mike Davis as a possible GPP troll for those Patterson chasers?
Yeah, I could definitely see it happening. I mean, this is a Miami team where I think they are a bottom run defense, and it was shown again in London when we saw James Robinson have an absolutely dominant day. Mike Davis gets enough touches to where I could see him have a dominant day. So like him getting 10 plus rushing attempts and getting receptions as well. I like this price tag at 6,300, and I think he could potentially be there.
Yeah, GPP swerve for sure. Just first look for us on Monday. All right, let's see. They have all the Bears price tags in the same area because I think Damian Williams probably goes in this spot against Tampa Bay. I'm not playing anybody. Don't play running backs ever against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You will surely regret it. And speaking about teams that played running backs against the Tampa Bay Bucks, Miles Sanders still salty about this, but maybe I'll warm up to it as the week goes on. 50% of the field played Sanders against Tampa Bay. Now he comes into a spot against Las Vegas at 5,900. What do you think about this spot here for Sanders?
I'm still not buying it. I still don't think I'm getting into Sanders this week. I don't want to. There's better spots overall, so I'm going to stay away.
Interesting spot here that I want to touch on. If Latavius Murray, for some reason, can or cannot go, this would open up a really nice value spot. But again, one, there's so many old, dusty running backs on this team outside of Lamar Jackson. And two, any of these guys could be traded at any single point in time. I'm surprised that the Giants haven't made a move yet. I'm surprised that the Chiefs haven't made more of a move yet. So that'll be very interesting to see. What do you think about Latavius Murray if he plays or if he does not play?
I don't know if it's going to make too much of a difference. Like, they still have Tyson Williams, who they only gave 4 touches to yesterday. They still have Devontae Freeman. They still have who else do they have? They have Le'Veon Bell, who
Yeah,
scored a touchdown yesterday. So, like, there's still too many bodies in that running back room that makes it too difficult.
it is disgusting, which is where you would just play Lamar Jackson. Uh, so for me, it's definitely Lamar Jackson or bust. I actually think Lamar will be a pretty solid play, or more of a solid play than he is right now if Latavius Murray were to sit. Anyway,
For sure.
all right. This is kind of the no man's zone for FanDuel. Not recently. I mean, the past couple of weeks we've used guys down in this range, but anything that we see here, maybe we see like Ramondre Stevenson come in and take some touches. That's probably GPP is as far as that would go.
Definitely GPP. We should. I don't see anyone that I like, so I'm ready to move on.
One guy I will mention quickly, AJ Dillon, is continuing to get some pretty decent touch work. Still under 40% of running back touches, I believe. But like I said last week, we're going to start seeing this in pretty big stints. So while he is not cash game viable at 5.4, he certainly could be a guy that trolls and gets touchdowns and could be in GPP consideration in really solid spots like this one. So
Yep,
that's the last guy I'll say.
for sure.
All right, we have 7 to 10 minutes to talk about wide receivers and tight ends. So we'll try to fly through it here. Devontae Adams 9K, Cooper Kupp 8.8, Tyreek Hill 8.5. You're definitely not playing Cordero Patterson at wide receiver this week. So how do we decide the top 3 guys? Even the oh my god, I forgot DeAndre Hopkins comeback week against Houston. Uh,
Yep.
how do we decide these top 4 guys minus Cordero Patterson?
Um, I don't know. It's super tough because I think Hopkins is certainly in play against Houston, just because of all the narratives there. But I also really like Devontae Adams this week. I think Devontae Adams could have an absolutely monster week, especially after kind of, I'm not going to say a letdown game, but in a game where he didn't get double-digit targets against Chicago. So I know it was a letdown game. 10 FanDuel points is not what you need from Devontae Adams.
Nah.
You need a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
So it was certainly a letdown game. And I think it's a bounce back week for Devontae Adams at home against this terrible secondary in Washington. So load up on Devontae Adams. I really do like this spot for him.
Yep. First look, guys. First look for me. If I'm talking tournaments right now, you should do everything that you can to get two of these guys above 8.5 into your lineups, if not including Hopkins in that mix at 8,000. They're all in smash spots this weekend. Devontae Adams against Washington, Cooper Kupp against Detroit, Tyreek Hill against Tennessee, DeAndre Hopkins against Houston. Even DJ Moore's not a bad play, who I think he's going to have a bounce back week after kind of being a little bit non existent last week. Jamar Chase against Baltimore, not really the best thing that I want to do there, but if that game shoots out, it could be interesting. Antonio Brown finally is the top wide receiver in Tampa, which only took 6 weeks, but he did it. And he was sitting at like 5.8 or 5.5 at week 1. Now he's all the way up here at 7.4. Calvin Ridley will play, or he's back at practice now, according to the coaching staffs there. So he's back in play against Miami in a really good spot. Marquise Brown, very good spot against Cincinnati. Man, it's a great week so far for these wide receivers.
Yeah, it's definitely a great week. You're seeing a lot of good matchups at running back. You're seeing a lot of good matchups at wide receiver. You're seeing a lot of good matchups for QBs. So it's certainly going to be a high scoring week this week, it seems like.
Yep. Moving down the list here, I mean, it kind of gets a little bit more gross, but Brandon Cooks against Arizona, we just saw that everybody is, there's nobody that's really existent in Houston outside of Brandon Cooks for fantasy, so I'm going to continue to go by that take. Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. Am I missing where Allen Robinson is? Oh, he's no, he's down at less than 6,000. Oh, that's amazing. 5,800. And Darnell Mooney at 5,900 against Tampa Bay secondary. Do we trust Justin Fields to do anything here in this spot?
I would side with no because he hasn't shown us that he can do anything. But, they're not going to be able to run the ball. We did finally see double-digit points from Justin Fields, so maybe this is the week that things start progressing against that bad secondary. And they lost another piece. They know that they lost Richard Sherman for the next couple weeks, so it's just an even more more injury-prone secondary than it was before.
For sure. I don't really think you need to go down here too much. I mean, Devontae Smith is interesting. Rondale Moore could be a very interesting tournament leverage piece off of the Arizona passing game. You also have Jacoby Myers, who could get in the end zone this week. He did, but they didn't call it a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
So he still is searching for that. Maybe we keep an eye on these Miami wide receivers, but that would be the last thing that I would look for in this spot. Devontae Parker sat last week, which forced Jalen Waddle into that wide receiver one volume role. So keep an eye on that because Miami's wide receiver depth is crumbling, and this is a great spot against Atlanta. Any interest anywhere else for wide receiver?
Nope, that is it for me.
All right, tight end. We'll make this quick here. Travis Kelce sitting at 8,200. Kind of had that busted hand. He still found a way to do pretty well yesterday, going up against Tennessee. I'm not scared of the spot. I think he'll be just fine. I think he might be more of a tournament play though on FanDuel because his price tag is getting up there, and we now know that there's 3 wide receivers that are smash spots over 8,500, and Derrick Henry's on the slate at 11K. So Kelsey might go a little bit under-owned, and it's due to a few plays here that we should talk about here moving down. Mark Andrews against Cincinnati. Back-to-back games with huge touchdown performances. You have Darren Waller against Philly, who, Darren Waller kind of fell off a little bit. His price tag decreased a tad. Should be in line for a decent spot against Philly, who historically does not cover linebackers tight ends very well in their linebacking core. Anything else you want to say? Do you want to comment on Gronk at all? I don't think Gronk plays for another 5 weeks, so I don't know why he's questionable here.
Yeah, I don't think he plays. I like the Darren Waller price tag a ton at 6,800. I think that's probably your go-to spot in cash games this week. And then I also really like Tyler Higbee at 5.5. I think he's in an interesting spot against Detroit. Zach Ertz against Houston is a really good spot as well, as long as they plan on playing him in Arizona. And I think that's me. I don't think I have any other interest. Actually, no. Yeah, no other interest.
Yeah, the price tag's getting up there, but if people miss again, Mike Gesicki against Atlanta is not the worst thing in the world. Zach Ertz would be the guy that I was going to talk about, but we just don't know how he's going to be used. So while I would say he's one of the most popular plays, we just have no idea. So could be interesting in tournaments, though. All right, defense. Cardinals sitting at the top against Houston. Rams against Detroit. Man, if you played Indianapolis Colts defense yesterday, you were handsomely rewarded. Just felt like that, the one time it didn't work was against the Patriots. So all these top 4 teams are in fantastic spots, even including Tampa Bay in that mix as well. I don't even know if we're going to be able to pay down a defense here. We'll see. Houston, no. Tennessee, no. I mean,
I really like the Jets defense. I don't know about you.
Okay.
But I think the Jets defense makes a ton of sense here. I mean, we already know that. Mac Jones had a good game yesterday. Don't get me wrong, but this Patriots offense isn't all that, in my opinion. And we saw that last time they faced off against the Patriots, they ended up having 3 FanDuel points, which isn't a ton, but especially on a week like this where we're talking about getting 2 of the top wide receivers. We're talking about potentially paying 11K for a running back. And, we're talking about all these high price spots. You're going to need that salary. So I really do like that Jets defense. It makes sense to me at 3,300.
Yeah, it feels like a punt week. I think you can include Kansas City if you want to. I know that's really bad. I don't, but I think that as long as you get the offensive pieces that you want, I can see you going there. I mean, I don't know. Outside of that, though, it kind of dives off for me quite a bit. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'll go to. Maybe no, can't even say that. So it's either pay up all the way or pay down for a team like the Jets for cash games and maybe even some tournaments. So that's the week 7 first look, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out on both streams today. We're going to be now moving into NBA content, so make sure to sign up for that. There still are all access packages available for the NBA product that cover both Josh and I's content as well as Sean's. So the opening day starts tomorrow. We'll still have our normal streams. Morning after we'll go at 11 o'clock Eastern, and then you'll have this stream at 1 o'clock Eastern where we're going to cover DraftKings first look tomorrow afternoon. So as always, good afternoon, good skill.